Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Today's story takes us into a neighborhood where peace and quiet were impossible, thanks to feral kids, barking dogs, and parents who just didn't care. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Living next to a noise bomb. How I survived the family from hell. I mostly just need to vent because for nearly 2 years my neighbors drove me absolutely insane. And to be clear, I have kids. I love kids. I understand they need to play, laugh, and make noise. But there's a difference between kids being kids and what I was dealing with. These kids weren't just energetic, they were feral. The family had 2 young kids, about 6 and 8, and their driveway ran the entire length of my house, right alongside my master bedroom, my 9-month-old's nursery, and my home office. I work from home full-time, which means quiet is essential. Instead, every day felt like living in the middle of a never-ending block party hosted by tiny demolition experts. These kids didn't play in their yard, even though the houses here all have massive lawns. Nope, they set up camp in the driveway, every single day. And not just for an hour or two, but from morning until it was too dark to see. I don't know how they were supposedly homeschooled because they were outside constantly. It was like living next to an unlicensed daycare. And what did they do out there? Everything short of setting up an actual carnival. They played tennis against the side of my house. They bounced basketballs off my roof like it was their personal trampoline. They built makeshift skate ramps and tried tricks until midnight. Once I caught them setting up a homemade archery range with the target literally leaning against the side of my house. My gutters ended up with tennis balls lodged inside them. My siding had permanent scuffs from basketballs. My office windows rattled from the constant thuds. Meetings on Zoom? Forget it. I'd be mid-sentence with a client and a sudden whack from a soccer ball would echo in the background. Nap time for my baby? Not happening. Every time she'd drift off, somebody would scream, crash into a fence, or slam a ball off her nursery window. Even at night, the chaos didn't stop. Because on top of the feral kids, their parents thought it was a genius idea to teach responsibility by giving them 3 dogs, a Rottweiler, a Dalmatian, and a Pit Bull. 6 and 8 years old, and they were supposedly in charge of feeding, walking, and training them. What this really meant was the dogs were left outside all night, barking nonstop and frequently escaping. I personally found them roaming the neighborhood 3 separate times in 1 month. I tried talking to the parents, but they just shrugged it off. It's the kids' responsibility, they told me, as if that excused the fact that my baby couldn't sleep and I was basically running a sound studio out of my office. I filed multiple noise complaints about the barking, which helped a little, but the kids? There was no stopping them. Even other neighbors complained about toys, bikes, and trash ending up in their yards. It was chaos that spilled into the entire block. For months, it felt like I was losing my mind. My house was supposed to be my refuge, but instead it was like living next to a circus without an intermission. My stress levels were through the roof. I'd catch myself fantasizing about silence the way other people dream about vacations. And then, one day, it happened. The moving truck pulled up. Miracle of miracles, they were leaving. The sense of relief was indescribable. I almost cried when I realized the driveway of doom would finally be quiet. For the first time in years, I could sit in my office without the background noise of tennis balls, basketballs, and feral screaming. My baby napped. At night, there was no chorus of barking echoing through the neighborhood. The house next door is under construction now, but even with hammers and saws going, it's nothing compared to the constant racket I endured before. Construction ends at 5 p.m. The kids and dogs never ended. Silence, peace, actual sleep. It feels like a small miracle. The neighbors from hell are gone, and I finally have my home back. I'm a huge advocate for children as well, but in some cases, parents let their kids get out of control, and it's hard to be compassionate when those kids are driving you nuts. Seriousness aside, the feral comment is brilliant. And our second story. Just a fat guy with nachos. And now a police file. My neighbors generally suck. They're loud, obnoxious, and seem to have no concept of how to live in a neighborhood with other human beings. I've put up with their noise and their nonsense for years. But this latest thing? What? I've been working on losing weight so I don't keep junk food in the house. If I want something unhealthy, I make myself earn it by walking to go get it. It's been surprisingly effective. No late-night chips sitting in the pantry, no ice cream taunting me from the freezer. If I want something bad, I have to put in the steps. Last night around 9 p.m., I had a craving for nachos, warm, cheesy nachos, so I pulled on my shoes, walked to the nearest spot, grabbed my prize, and started heading home. Picture it. Me, nachos in hand, walking peacefully down the sidewalk back to my house. And then a police officer pulls up next to me. Apparently, one of my neighbors had called in a suspicious person. Not just once either. This neighbor has repeatedly reported the same suspicious person and even provided security footage. Here's the kicker. That suspicious person is me. Clear as day, tattoos and all. Why? Because when I walk, I don't stare at my phone, I don't walk a dog, I don't walk with other people, I just walk. That's it. That's enough to make me a threat in my own neighborhood, according to whoever's making these calls. I've lived here for 6 years. I pay my taxes, I stick to the sidewalk, and the only thing remotely unusual is that I'm literally walking off my outer fat person so I can feed my inner fat person. Nachos in hand, not a care in the world, until my neighbors decided I looked suspicious enough to warrant the cops. So what exactly am I supposed to do? Should I force myself to stare at my phone so I look normal? Drag my poor reactive dog along so people know I belong? Belt out show tunes to reassure the neighborhood? Maybe I should just print a shirt with my address on it that says, I effing live here. Because apparently just existing isn't enough. Next time you get a craving, go knock on their door and tell them, hey, I had a craving for nachos, and since walking by myself is evidently a suspicious activity, I thought I'd see if you want to take a walk with me. And our next story. Mess with my dog, meet the fish buffet mafia. I got a dog a while back, and he's obsessed with water. Luckily, there's a park nearby with a designated dog pond where pups can splash around freely. The pond itself connects to a few other ponds through ditches, but it's really meant for dogs. My dog, though, is kind of a wimp when it comes to swimming. He won't jump in from the deep end, so he needs one of the 2 sloped entry points to wade in. The pond's about 30 meters across, so the slopes are pretty important to him. Now, when the weather turns sunny, people start showing up to fish. Personally, I don't get the appeal of inflicting pain on animals for fun, but it's a public park, so what can I do? For the last 5 years or so, there have been 3 older guys, probably in their late 60s or early 70s, who insist on fishing in the dog pond whenever it gets hot. Every summer, it's the same routine. I've always handled it by keeping my dog on a leash, greeting them politely, and walking to the opposite side so he can swim without bothering anyone. 5 years, not a single issue. That changed last week. I followed the same routine, but one of them suddenly started shouting at me. You can't do that, we're fishing here. At first I ignored him, but he kept at it, so I shouted back. It escalated into a full-on argument where one of them actually threatened to hook my dog. That's when I lost my temper and shot back that I'd sink their fancy little GPS-guided fishing boat if they tried. They didn't appreciate that, and soon it was threats of physical violence. I decided to back off and de-escalate before it went too far, then walked home laughing at how ridiculous the whole thing had been. The next morning, things got dark. Both slopes of the dog pond were covered in fish hooks, literally thousands of them scattered in the water and grass. Anyone, dog or human, could have been seriously hurt. I immediately called the municipality, and to their credit, they came out the same day to clean everything up. I told them about the altercation, but since I had no proof, they couldn't do much. The police said the same, unless I wanted to formally report the threats. Instead of giving up, I decided to fight back in my own way. If they wanted the fish so badly, I'd make sure the fish didn't want them. I started researching fish habits and diets, even talking to a guy at the fishing supply store who gave me a crash course. Then I began crafting gourmet fish feasts. Corn soaked until it sprouted, tiger nuts marinated in tuna extract, and even homemade caramel vanilla salmon worm balls. Those last ones were tricky, since you need just the right consistency without lumps. But after a few failed attempts, I nailed it. For the past 10 days, I've been creating feeding grounds all over the park, everywhere except the old men's favorite spot. Each evening, I spend half an hour laying out food that keeps the fish busy from their lines. I don't even know if it's truly working, but just imagining their frustration has been deeply satisfying. My girlfriend teases me constantly. If you put half this energy into something useful, think of what you'd accomplish. But honestly, this is useful. It's my little act of justice, ensuring my dog can swim safely and maybe tipping the scales against 3 guys who thought scattering hooks where dogs play was acceptable. And I'll keep it up until the weather cools down. In fact, I'm already scheming about next summer's menu for the fish, because if those old men think they've got the patience, they've clearly never met me. And our last story. My entitled sister wants to steal our late grandmother's apartment from me. My sister's always been a piece of work. She's the type who can turn anything into her being the victim, no matter how absurd. But recently, she managed to outdo herself in the worst possible way. First, context. Our grandma passed away at the end of July. It hasn't even been a month since, and I'm still reeling. I was the one who found her, and that image still weighs heavy. She lived in a little apartment attached to my mom's house, and before she passed, we had all talked about me moving in eventually. It made sense. I'm disabled, and the apartment already had no-slip railings, adapted kitchen tools, and other accessibility modifications that would help me. Everyone, including Grandma, agreed it was the right plan. Then my sister comes along and blows everything to hell. She's in her mid-30s, married with kids, but she recently confessed to me and our mom that she's been seeing someone else. Her justification? Her husband's a dirtbag, and he is. But guess what? Being married to a dirtbag doesn't give you a hall pass to start an affair. Leave the guy. Don't cheat. But logic and basic decency have never been my sister's strong suits. So here's where it gets disgusting. She decided that her affair partner should move into Grandma's apartment. Yes, the one attached to our mom's house. Yes, the one I'm supposed to move into. She framed it like it was no big deal, just a temporary arrangement that would make things easier for her since Mom can cover for me. I wanted to vomit. Me. Wait, you're wanting us to help you cheat on your husband? You seriously think Mom's gonna babysit your affair? Her. You don't even seem in a rush to move in. It makes sense for now. I snapped. I literally just found Grandma's body less than a month ago. I'm not in a hurry to erase her from her home so you can set up your sleazy boyfriend. But she doubled down, claimed it'd be better for the community because less deer. Oh wait, wrong story. Because it'll make getting my kid back easier. That's right, she tried to frame this as a noble thing for her custody situation. I wasn't buying it, neither was Mom. We've been slowly going through Grandma's things, which has been bittersweet. Painful? Yes, but we've also found family treasures. Photos, keepsakes, even my great-grandma's old pocket watch with a locket of my great-grandma inside. My sister swooped in one afternoon and tried to bully her way through the apartment, demanding her share of keepsakes. Joke's on her, I'd already hidden the things Grandma would have wanted me to protect. She left for the decorative bowl and nothing else. The entitlements didn't stop, though. She kept making little comments. Well, if you take too long, maybe he could just crash here for a while. Each time, Mom and I shut her down, hard. Now we're taking no chances. The locks are being changed, the security system's going in. She thinks she's clever enough to sneak in? Not anymore. The best part of all this, for me anyway, was when she started melting down after realizing we were serious. She thought she could wear us down with guilt, but when that didn't work, she went nuclear. The text started rolling in, long, self-righteous rants about how I'm selfish, how I'm ruining her life, how I should be grateful to help her. I finally told her the truth. I'm done. You're cut out of my life again. Don't text, don't call, don't come near me. Figure out how to explain all this to your kids when the divorce papers hit. Because here's the reality. Her husband may be garbage, but once he finds out she was trying to move her boyfriend into Mom's property, the custody battle is going to be brutal. And I want nothing to do with it. For the first time in years, I feel no guilt about cutting her off. She showed me exactly who she is. Someone willing to exploit her grieving family and her own mother just to cover her tracks. I'll move into Grandma's apartment when I'm ready, and I'll honor her memory there. My sister can stew in the wreckage she's created. She wanted to play victim. Instead, she's about to get front row seats to her own downfall. Wow, this one hit hard. On one side, you've got grief, family history, and the very real weight of losing someone close. On the other, your sister, who saw your grandma's passing not as a moment to pause and honor her memory, but as an opportunity to sneak her affair deeper into the family's home. That's not just selfish, that's ice cold. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.